Alright, I've been thinking about some stuff, and I'm just going to start talking because I don't know exactly what all I'm going to talk about in this video. I've been thinking about Oak Island, the treasure, gold, aliens, stuff like that. So, I think I figured out what Oak Island is. If you guys don't know about the TV show Curse of Oak Island, go watch it. If you don't know by now, I don't even know what to tell you. Basically, history is being rewritten. The Templar Knights probably came over from like the 1500s before. Well, Columbus was 1492, right? They got some stuff over there that's predating it by hundreds of years, I think. So it's kind of like, I was thinking about like the way it works in DayZ and arcades and video games. Like, if we go out and we find treasure, or we find somebody's base and we raid it, right? And we get all their stuff. What do we do with it? We bring it back to our base. We take everything and we try to consolidate it into one area, right? And you've also got the problem of, like, say you found like the lost city of El Dorado and you have an insane amount of gold. Maybe you've been raiding Spanish ships and you're pirates. Maybe you you found it on somebody else's ships, or you stole it from the indigenous Americans, right? There's a thing about hoarding information. Like, if you have it, let's say you discover the new world, right? The story we're told in school about Amerigo Vespucci being first, and Columbus coming over and all this stuff, maybe that's not exactly true, because whoever discovered it first was probably the Vikings, or maybe even earlier than that, and they're not going to, like, tell everybody. If you've got something that big, like a whole new land that nobody knows about, you're going to keep it a secret and you're going to exploit it as long as you can, because if nobody else knows about it, it basically is yours. And you're going to, like, send out expeditions to, like, try and see what's there that you can loot before everybody else finds out about it, right? And that's how I got into the thing about aliens, too, because I think that's, like, the military and the government probably knows about aliens and they're keeping them from us, because as long as they are the only ones that have the information, they can steal all the technology for themselves. Anyway, let's go to some pictures. This is all the gold that's been mined in the history of the world that we know of. It'll all fit into a Olympic-sized swimming pool, be about as big as a house, like that. Here's some other pictures. Like, here it is next to the Great Pyramids. Here it is like a soccer stadium. Here it is next to the Statue of Liberty. It's not that much gold. And that's only the stuff that we have. Oh, here's the Queen looking at it. All of the stuff that was lost to the ocean from sunken ships. Like, think about how much that is. And let's go to a big map. So, they probably found all the gold down here in South America somewhere. This is before the gold rush in California. And they've also, like, probably had the Aztecs had some gold and they took it up and hid it somewhere around here, let's just say. So a lot of the gold was in California and Mexico, and it ended up here and, like, distributed around. But then all the Spanish explorers got all their gold down here somewhere with the Mayas and the Incas and the El Dorado situation and Coronado and Cortez and all those guys. And your pirates started doing piracy around here in the Bahamas, right? And the thing with Oak Island is they had these coconut fibers, and it's way up here. So this is like one of the last places you would be seeing land before you shot across the ocean, the deep parts, to go to Spain and Portugal. I don't know if they knew about these little islands right here in the middle, because that would be a good, like, resting stop. But, like, to get from Massachusetts to Portugal, Spain to Massachusetts, I think this is like minimum 6 weeks in an old sailing vessel in the 1500s to the 1700s. All best weather conditions and everything, right? So you wouldn't want to hide your gold here, because that's probably where everybody's taking off from. But if you had a bunch of gold, you could take it on up here and hide it somewhere in here, like my home bay. Now, my home bay is full of all these islands, so there's a lot of different ones you could hide it at. So I'm not sure why they would pick Oak Island, which kind of looks like an elephant. Maybe it's because of the shape of it. Maybe it's because, like, this deep water here comes in a little bit further, and then it's, like, also connected to land, which maybe this one here is the only other one that's good. I mean, it probably wasn't connected to land back then either, because there's not Like I think these are man-made roads that go across here that they built. So if you wanted to get onto land and like hunt animals to have for food and stuff like that, you would also want it to be like connected to land. I mean, I'm sure there's animals on some of these other big islands too, though. So I don't know. This is what I can't figure out. I don't know why it would be Oak Island. Why would you pick that one? So if you guys don't know about Oak Island, let me get to some pictures. Here is like the really weird thing that they discovered on the show. This is called Smuggler's Cove. I thought it was called Smith's Cove, but I guess that's down here at the bottom. They found this U-shaped structure, this L-shaped structure. They found a Roman concrete wall with a metal pipe, I think, in it. They got these finger drains, and they put eelgrass and coconut fibers on top of it to kind of filter out the salt water or something. And it's supposed to be like flood tunnels that go into like these treasure rooms that are underneath the ground. So anybody that digs for the treasure, it floods it and they can't get to it unless you know exactly where to dig and how to do it. They also found this wharf-like thing right here, this dock, this wooden dock. And even in some of the old photos, like this is from like, this looks like it right here. And I didn't think they had discovered that until like the modern crew found it. But this is from 1965 when Robert Dunfield excavated it. So why would there be a dock over here in Sheerdam or whatever? It's in this one. I think it's right here. This cove. So there's theories that these little nubs sticking out right here and right here and right here were all like docks that came out. Ships would come in and they would dock. And then you got this triangular shaped swamp right here. It's theorized that they would like take a ship in there and like turn it over inside it, sink it full of treasure, and then they would artificially fill it in and create this swamp. Because of this photo. Yeah. They did some seismic testing and they found a ship-shaped seismic anomaly in the middle of the swamp. So it looks like a ship has been turned over on its side. They also found like a big deck board from a ship there, and they find nails and stuff. So it looks like maybe there's a ship down there, and there's this paved area and these paved roads that look like roads they found in Portugal. And those are coming towards where they think the treasure was, the money pit area, like here. So the roads are kind of coming like this, and they're coming up like this. And like up in here, they found like this kind of a tar pit, like they were melting pine pitch or something to make like sealant for the ships or something. So maybe this, here's my theory. They probably were repairing ships, and they were also storing the gold here on Oak Island temporarily. Let's go back to the map. So here's my big revelation, which I don't know if it makes sense at all now. If you're going 6 weeks from here to here, right? That's a long voyage, and there's no land in between. So you're going to have a lot of food for 6 weeks. For I don't know how many people's on your crew. Maybe do the math on that and figure out like how much food you can store on a ship. So you can't carry all gold. You're going to have a lot of supplies. So you're going to have to offload a lot of your gold somewhere and just like have like half food, half gold. Whereas if you're like going along the coast of America here and you're following the shoreline down through in the Bahamas, you know, and stuff, you can stop off on these islands and you can get food there. You can kill you some pigs or a deer or whatever, and then you can bring it back to your boat anytime you run out of food. Harvest fruit, things like that. So would that let them carry like a full load of gold? Because this is a way longer trip going along the coast like this. Plus, I think the winds would probably be better going across the ocean than going along the coastline. I don't know. Plus, it's more likely to crash and rocks and stuff if you're going along here. But my theory is they had a lot of ships that were going just up to Oak Island and then back. Oak Island and back. Up Oak Island and back. And then those ships would park here on the south end and offload. That's why they have all these like ox shoes. So the ox would have like these carts, I guess, that would pull the gold up this road to one of these like treasure stashing areas or something. and then they would put it onto a ship over here, and then it would take off. Eventually, when they load it up, and then it would go across to wherever they were going. It would be the Templars, or the Vikings, or I don't know, whoever was taking it would go back and forth like this. Everybody else just going like this. So you got people working together, because once you've discovered this new world, now it's just like you've got to get as much stuff as you can get and get it in one place before everybody finds out about the new world, because you got this secret information and you're going to make your money as fast as you can, as much as you can. And then probably from like, I don't know how long they must have done that for, like 200 years or something, until like 17, let's see, I don't know, when did we start colonizing America real hard? Could they have been doing it while we were colonizing? I don't know. That'd be pretty shady. Like, you see some random ships going by the coast while you're just like in Massachusetts or something. But I was thinking about it like, how would I do it in Arcade? Like, when you're in Arcade, you know, you're sailing your boat, you're doing these certain routes, like you're doing the same quest over and over again. You kind of learn, like, all the landmarks, like you see the same places all the time. So if I'm down here and I'm going along from, like, the coast of Florida, and you probably see, like, the tip of North Carolina, like, once you reach this part right here, you know, like, okay, then we can go to, like, New Jersey, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll go to, like, Massachusetts and take a break, and then we'll go to, like, Halifax and take a break. So that's probably how they ended up, like, recognizing Oak Island, maybe, from there. But they would want to pick something that nobody else would, like, recognize. So maybe that's, I don't know. It's like an interesting hidey hole kind of situation. Yeah, so then I was thinking about, like, the alien thing. I was reading the Andromeda Evolution book, and they were talking about the Fermi paradox, you know, like, why are there so many habitable planets and we're not seeing any aliens? And that makes sense. That, you know, Bob Lazar says he was Area 51. He seems really legit. You got all these people that were in NASA and stuff that came forward and said there's aliens. That maybe they're all just telling the truth. Maybe when we see UFOs flying around, it's because maybe, like, they've got a deal with the aliens that they can't show themselves either, because whoever contacted them first made a deal with. But like, the aliens are kind of getting pissed off, and they want to, like, let themselves be known, so that maybe they'll sneak out every now and then and show themselves. So then I was looking at this map, and, like, I was like, what's this Georgetown right here in the middle of the ocean? I zoomed in. This place called Ascension Island. It's like 1 million years old geologically, that was formed by a volcano. 1 million years is pretty recent in the history of the Earth geologically. And I found this website and I started looking at it. And it's kind of weird. It says, officially there's no UK citizens there, so everybody has to say they're temporary visitors. There's like 800 people there. The airport, whose runway was once the longest in the world, designed to accommodate the space shuttle, was operated by the U.S. Air Force, which grants limited access to Britain. NASA tracked the Apollo moon landings from Ascension. The European Space Agency monitors rocket launches from there. So it's full of, like, aerial arrays and satellite dishes, but who is listening into what? Nobody's willing to say. And then you got, let's see, birds. Keep everybody awake. Sailors visiting 1726 found a tent and a diary belonging to a Dutch mariner who had been set ashore as punishment for homosexuality. It shows he was, like, running out of water supplies, and he resorted to drinking the blood of turtles in his own urine. No skeleton was ever found. And then there's, like, no trees, but there's all these, like, sea turtles that people used to, like, flip onto their backs and eat them, because they're really good. Turtles are the best meat, though. I can't really fault them for that. Yeah, they would turn them, keeping them alive on their backs, sometimes for weeks, before boiling them up for soup. Yeah, so there's aliens. All the gold in the world is mostly in the ocean. and I figured out how Oak Island works. Yeah. Somebody had a picture. The hinge. They dug up a hinge in their yard or something, and it has the same dot pattern as Nolan's cross, but then there's one dot off to the side, so that's where they say that's where you gotta dig, because they found this hinge in their yard. Which, that's clever that they would notice that. But what if that's the same kind of hinge that they were using on those boats for something, and that's so they patterned it off of? That would make sense. And then there's this thing underwater and down at the south end, I think. There's so much weirdness up there. But my idea, I think, makes a lot of sense. That they wouldn't just... If you're bringing a load of gold all the way from down here, all the way up to the coast of America and then across, you wouldn't do that every trip. You just bring it up here, drop it off, go back. And then have somebody else go... That's just like... What do you call the water pail thing when you're putting out a fire? I don't think they knew that it would probably be way faster to go down here to Brazil and then over here to Africa. Because that's probably like a 3-week voyage tops. Plus there's a couple islands there. You should probably see that on day one. Once you get to Africa, then you can stash it somewhere over here. So that makes me wonder if, like, maybe right here, maybe there's, like, hidden gold, like, around here in Toros or whatever, someplace, like, in Brazil. Or over here in Sierra Leone or somewhere. I mean, there actually is gold, I think, in, what was it, Ghana or somewhere? They were in Guinea. One of these places, I saw a gold show where they were mining for gold in the rivers. Or something like that. But anyway... Something to think about. There's also this new show on TV called Gold Lies in Videotape, about this mountain a guy went deer hunting on, and he found like tons and tons of gold, like in the bottom of it. You have to go down this whole passageway system, like an ant farm. Then you go sideways into the mountain, and there's these rooms. And somebody fucked up and dynamited it and collapsed the whole thing on it. And now, I think it's Wright-Patterson or something, Air Force Base has the land and they won't let anybody go on it. So it's probably the government stealing all the gold again. It's fucking government every time, guys. They're stealing all the aliens, they're stealing all the gold. And they're using it for bullshit stuff. Like, we could spend this gold way better than they could. There's Roswell right there. There's White Sands. It's White Sands. I think they're the ones. So it's probably like, I think it's right in here somewhere. I don't remember. Victory. It's called Mount Victory. Just like Mount Victory coal mines in Kentucky, where the famous Mr. X was supposedly the guy who killed, well, you guys don't know about the JFK assassination guy from all the Penny Royal podcasts, but I'm deep in the conspiracies, boys. Look, there's a conspiracy that Avril Lavigne is not real. She died and was replaced with a different person. And if you look at her now and look at her back then, her eyes are not the same. Her face is not, the symmetry of her face doesn't match up. It's true. She's been replaced by a robot. And also the NFL is fake. It's like the WWE. The Las Vegas bookmakers are deciding all the results. The Super Bowl is Sunday. It's already been decided who's going to win. Sometimes you'll see these players, they'll come out and they'll admit that it's all fake. And that they're, just look up videos of NFL players saying NFL is fake. It's crazy. They don't get to, like, just play the game. They get told, like, when to take a dive and stuff. And you'll see them, like, not trying very hard. It's hilarious.